Okay, so we're diving deep today into a book that I know a lot of you have been curious about, and that's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah,
It can feel pretty dense and maybe a little overwhelming.
it can.
So we wanted to distill it down, really get at like the core essence of what Hill's trying to get across.
Yeah, the actionable wisdom, right, without having to read all 400 pages.
Exactly.
So consider this your strategic briefing.
Perfect.
On some of the most powerful concepts in Think and Grow Rich.
And it's not just, a self-help book from the 30s.
No, not at all.
Like, this book is based on serious research.
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich, published back in 1938. It was a culmination of Hill's extensive research.
Right.
He actually spent over 2 decades, over 20 years, studying the lives of over 25,000 successful individuals.
That's huge.
Really trying to crack the code, pinpoint the underlying principles of achievement of how these folks made it big.
And it all started with a challenge, right?
It did.
From Andrew Carnegie.
Yeah, Andrew Carnegie, the steel magnate.
Yeah.
He kind of put the bug in Hill's ear. He believed that there was this formula for success that was like almost universal.
Right.
And it needed to be shared.
It should be available to everybody.
Exactly.
So today, that's kind of our mission as well.
Absolutely.
We're diving into the foundational ideas presented in the early chapters, the critical importance of desire.
The burning desire.
Burning desire, yes.
Yeah.
The power of faith, which a lot of people, I think, misunderstand.
Mm-hmm.
And then the subtle, but I think really potent influence of suggestion.
Yeah, the power of the mind to shape reality.
Yes, in shaping your reality and reaching your goals.
Exactly.
And Hill presented this as like a very concrete philosophy.
Yeah, not just some vague notion,
Right.
but a dependable set of principles for anyone to achieve success.
And he wasn't just, making this up.
No.
He actually had some pretty serious endorsements early on.
Oh, yeah, he got some heavy hitters to back him up. Yeah. I think even a former President and Chief Justice of the United States,
Wow.
recognized the value of these principles for leadership.
Well, that's incredible.
Yeah, pretty impressive, right?
Yeah.
And then you've got F.W. Woolworth,
Right.
the guy behind the Woolworth stores, the retail giant.
Yeah.
He credited the law of success, which is kind of the precursor to Think and Grow Rich. He credited that directly for his monumental success in business. He actually considered the Woolworth building like a physical manifestation of these principles, a monument to them.
A monument to these ideas.
Yeah.
So now there's something in Think and Grow Rich that's always really intrigued me.
Okay, I'm curious.
It's this thing that he calls the secret.
The secret. Okay.
Yeah, he mentions it over 100 times throughout the book.
Really? Over 100 times?
More than 100 times, yeah. But here's the interesting part.
Okay.
He never explicitly says what it is.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, the idea is that the reader will, uncover it for themselves when they're ready,
Like it'll reveal itself when the time is right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, yeah.
There's actually a really fascinating story about Hill's son,
Okay.
who, when he was in college, he read the manuscript for chapter 2 of the book.
Okay.
And it seems like he kind of grasped this underlying secret because immediately after graduating, he landed this crazy high-paying job that most people would only dream of having, after years and years of working.
Like he skipped all the steps, basically.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Just from reading chapter 2.
Apparently, yeah.
There's something to that.
So it begs the question, what might this secret, this unnamed secret, represent for you?
That's a good question.
As we go through these principles, maybe we can sort of figure it out together.
I'm in. Let's do it.
Okay, so the first principle, really, that Hill talks about is desire.
Desire, yeah.
He calls it burning desire.
Burning desire. He's very specific about that.
Yeah, he emphasizes that it's not just a fleeting wish or a casual interest.
It's not like, oh, it'd be nice to have that.
Yeah, it's not like that.
It's a deep, intense, almost consuming longing for something specific, something definite.
Yeah, and you have to be able to define it.
Absolutely. It can't be vague.
Right.
You have to know exactly what you want.
He uses a really interesting example.
Okay, let's hear it.
It's Edwin C. Barnes.
Edwin C. Barnes. Okay.
And his, absolute determination to become a business associate of Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison. Wow. Shooting for the stars.
Yeah, and for 5 years, he pursued this, relentlessly.
5 years?
He took on all these really humble roles
Really?
in Edison's organization, often without any outward signs of progress. you know?
Like he was grinding it out in the background.
Yeah, but his mental conviction, like, never wavered.
So it wasn't just about the outward actions, it was the internal belief.
It was the belief, yeah. He saw himself as Edison's partner from the moment he arrived.
So for him, it wasn't a hope, it was a certainty.
Yeah, look, it was already done in his mind.
It was just a matter of time.
Right.
That's powerful.
And what's really striking about Barnes' story
Okay.
is that he didn't have a plan B.
Like he burned all bridges, so to speak.
Yeah, Hill actually uses that phrase.
Really?
He burned all bridges behind him.
Wow, so there was no going back.
No going back.
No safety net, no alternative route.
His desire wasn't just strong.
It was his everything.
It was his singular focus.
Wow. That's commitment.
Yeah.
Makes you think, doesn't it?
It's
It's about the power of that kind of singular focus.
Totally. Yeah.
Like how much we hold ourselves back by hedging our bets, you know?
Yeah, by having, like, escape routes.
Exactly.
So when you think about your own aspirations,
Mhm.
that one thing that you really, truly desire,
A burning desire.
do you approach it with that level of unwavering resolve?
Right. Are you all in?
Yeah, have you mentally eliminated any possibility of, like, turning back? What would it take to cultivate that kind of burning desire?
That's the question, isn't it?
Right. And, you know, Hill talks about this idea of faith.
Faith. Okay.
Now, he's not talking about, like, religious faith in a specific dogma.
Right. Not like going to church every Sunday.
No, he's talking about faith as a state of mind,
Okay. A mental
a
state.
positive mental attitude that you can actively cultivate.
So you can actually develop this faith.
Yeah, through a process that he calls autosuggestion.
Autosuggestion. Interesting.
And he argues that this unwavering belief is essential
For what?
for connecting with what he terms infinite intelligence.
Infinite intelligence. Okay. I'm intrigued.
Yeah, it's this, like, universal source of power, wisdom, creativity. And he actually provides a method for cultivating faith.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he called it the self-confidence formula.
The self-confidence formula.
And it's actually 6 steps, but the core of it
Yeah.
is this conscious, deliberate effort.
Okay.
It's about knowing with certainty.
Knowing, not hoping.
Knowing that you can achieve your clearly defined purpose.
So you have that burning desire, and then you have this unshakable faith that you can achieve it.
Yeah, and you compel yourself to take consistent action towards it.
So it's not just about thinking, it's about doing.
Yes, and then you dedicate time every day,
Every day,
at
okay?
least 30 minutes,
30 minutes.
to vividly imagining,
Visualizing.
yeah, and focusing on the person you intend to become.
Wow. So you're creating a mental picture.
Yes, like a blueprint of your future success.
That's fascinating.
And the formula also emphasizes
Let's see.
the importance of verbally affirming this belief daily.
So speaking it out loud.
Yeah, with complete conviction.
Wow. Like you're convincing yourself?
Yeah, because Hill's saying that these affirmations,
Mm-hmm.
they influence your subconscious mind.
Okay.
And that eventually leads to self-reliance
Mhm.
and the attainment of your goals.
So by consistently feeding your mind with positive thoughts, you actually start to embody those qualities.
Exactly. It's like you're reprogramming yourself.
It's the practical application of autosuggestion.
Yes. And we actually see a really remarkable illustration of this
Oh, where?
with the creation of the United States Steel Corporation.
U.S. Steel. Okay.
Yeah. So Charles M. Schwab had this vision.
Okay.
He called it an idea.
An idea, all caps?
All caps. Yeah, it was a big idea
All right.
for this massive steel conglomerate.
Okay, so he had the vision, the burning desire.
But the idea alone wasn't enough. You know,
Right.
It was his ability to instill an unwavering belief in that vision.
In other people.
Yeah, specifically J.P. Morgan.
J.P. Morgan, the financier.
Yeah, it was Schwab's ability to, like, transfer that faith to Morgan.
Wow, that's interesting.
That really brought it to life.
So it was the combination of the vision and the belief.
And that led to a $400 million deal.
400 million. Back then, that's like billions today.
Yeah, and later they estimated that it generated about $600 million in profit.
So it wasn't just a good idea, it was a wildly successful one.
Right.
And it all stemmed from Schwab's faith.
Yeah, and this is what Hill emphasizes, you know.
Okay.
This incredible outcome wasn't just dumb luck.
It was a direct result of applying these principles.
Yeah, this philosophy of unwavering belief.
Wow. It's a powerful example.
It shows how faith, in this context, acts as this, like, catalyst
The catalyst for what?
for dissolving limitations.
Okay, the things that hold us back.
Yeah, the perceived limitations.
Mhm.
Hill says that riches, you know, they originate as thoughts.
Interesting.
And the only real limits are the ones we impose on our own minds.
So we're our own worst enemies, in a way.
In a way, yeah.
Mm.
So think about your own ambitions.
Okay.
What self-imposed limitations might be holding you back?
Right. What stories are we telling ourselves?
Yeah, and how could cultivating a stronger sense of faith?
A genuine belief in the unseen potential.
Yeah, how could that empower you to shatter those barriers?
That's a great question to ponder.
And how can you apply that self-confidence formula?
The 6 steps.
Yeah, the 6 steps to your own life.
Right. How can we make this practical?
Okay, now let's move on to the subconscious mind.
The subconscious mind. Okay.
And the really profound impact of autosuggestion.
Autosuggestion. Yeah, we touched on that a bit.
Hill describes autosuggestion as the primary means.
The main way.
The main way, yeah.
Okay.
Through which we gain access to and influence our subconscious.
So it's like a bridge to our deeper mind.
Exactly.
I like that.
And he stresses this fundamental principle.
Okay, what is it?
Every thought impulse,
Every thought.
whether it's positive or negative,
Okay.
has this natural and persistent tendency to translate itself into its physical equivalent.
Wow. So our thoughts actually create our reality.
That's what he's saying, yeah.
That's pretty profound.
He shares a really moving story about his son,
Okay.
who was born without ears.
Oh, wow.
And instead of allowing this to be like a debilitating limitation,
Yeah.
Hill consciously employed the power of suggestion.
He used it to his advantage.
Yeah, he constantly told his son that this was actually an advantage,
Really?
that it was a unique circumstance that would lead to special attention and ultimately extraordinary success.
He flipped the script
He
completely.
flipped the script, yeah.
Ah.
And remarkably, this planted a desire in the boy's mind.
To hear normally.
Yeah, to hear and speak normally.
And did it work?
And it actually became a reality.
It did.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
He attributes it to the combination of faith.
Unwavering faith.
Yeah, and consistent positive suggestion over many years.
So he never gave up on that belief.
Never gave up.
The power of the mind is incredible.
It really is.
It makes you realize that we often limit ourselves unnecessarily, you know?
Yeah, totally.
We create our own limitations.
So this really underscores the double-edged sword of suggestion.
How so?
Just as negative influences can, like, steer someone towards undesirable paths.
Right, like hanging out with the wrong crowd.
Yeah. And Hell actually quotes a criminologist on this point,
Really?
saying that association with crime can lead to becoming a criminal.
Makes sense.
But then, on the flip side,
Yeah.
consciously and deliberately feeding your subconscious with positive affirmations of faith and desire can actually cultivate those qualities within you.
So it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, in a way.
Yeah, and as Hill puts it,
How does he say it?
the mind inevitably takes on the characteristics of the influences that predominantly occupy it.
So it's about being mindful of what we allow into our minds.
Yeah, it's like mental hygiene.
Mental hygiene, I like that.
Right. And that's why he cautions against allowing your mind to become a breeding ground for fear, doubt, and disbelief.
Because those will manifest as negative outcomes.
Exactly. If you constantly bombard your subconscious with those negative thought patterns, they're likely to show up in your life.
So garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, pretty much.
It really makes you think about your internal dialogue, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Like, what kind of suggestions, both the conscious ones and the ones we just absorb passively from our environment,
All right, the ones we're not even aware of.
are we allowing to take root in our subconscious mind?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Are they empowering us or are they sabotaging us?
Big questions.
Yeah, important ones, though.
Okay, so now we often hear this phrase, knowledge is power.
Knowledge is power. Yeah, it's a classic.
But Hill offers a really critical refinement to this.
Oh, how so?
He says that knowledge in isolation,
Just knowing stuff.
yeah, is only potential power.
Okay.
It only becomes actual power when it's organized
Organized. Okay.
and intelligently directed
Directed towards what?
towards a specific purpose.
Okay, a goal.
Yeah, through practical, well-defined plans of action.
So it's not enough to just have knowledge. You have to know how to use it.
Exactly. And he gives this really memorable example.
I'm listening.
It's from Henry Ford's libel trial.
Henry Ford, the car guy.
Yeah, so during the trial, he was challenged on his lack of broad general knowledge.
Like he didn't know a lot of trivia.
Yeah, and Ford very cleverly pointed out.
What did he say?
He said that while he might not recall specific historical facts off the top of his head,
Okay.
he knew exactly how to access the specialized knowledge he needed.
Through other people.
Through his team of experts, yeah.
So he knew where to find the information.
He was a master delegator.
And that's the key, right? It's not about possessing all the knowledge yourself.
Right, but knowing how to acquire it and leverage it.
Exactly, knowing how to use other people's expertise.
And Hill really emphasizes that this pursuit of relevant knowledge, it's not a one-time event.
It's ongoing.
It's a continuous process, yeah.
You never stop learning.
Successful individuals are constantly learning.
They're always growing.
They understand they need to acquire knowledge that supports their objectives.
And the ones who stagnate, they're the ones who think they know everything.
Yeah, or that their education ended when they finished school.
Right, like a closed mind.
So this leads to the importance of having definite plans.
Definite plans, okay.
Hill shares this really compelling story
Oh, I love a good story.
about a woman whose son had just graduated college,
Okay.
but he was having a tough time finding a job.
Yeah, that's common.
Instead of just, sending out resumes passively,
Right.
she created this really detailed plan for him.
Plan for what?
She called it a prepared plan to market personal services.
Prepared plan to market personal services. That's a mouthful.
It was basically this comprehensive presentation
Okay.
outlining his skills, experiences, and a clear vision of how he could excel in a specific type of role.
So it wasn't just a resume, it was like a marketing pitch.
Yeah, and the result was pretty amazing.
What happened?
Her son didn't have to start at the very bottom,
Okay.
He got a job as a junior executive,
Wow, skipping the entry level.
and with a salary that was usually given to people with much more experience.
That's impressive.
And Hill actually argues that starting slightly above the entry level
Okay.
can be a really crucial advantage
Why is that?
because it forces you to stay proactive.
To keep looking for opportunities.
Yeah. And it helps you avoid getting stuck in a rut.
Like the inertia of routine.
Exactly. The routine that can stifle ambition.
Makes sense.
And he tells this great story about a guy named Dan Halpin,
Dan Halpin. Okay.
who specifically targeted higher level positions.
He aimed high.
Yeah. And as a result, he went from a job he disliked
Okay.
to being a vice president of a company in just over 6 months.
6 months. That's fast.
Super fast, yeah.
So it pays to aim high.
Yeah, it really does.
It makes you think about your own skills and talents, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Like, could we develop a similar strategic plan, a roadmap for our own ambitions?
Totally, yeah. How could we articulate our unique value proposition
Right. What makes us stand out?
in a way that positions us to aim higher?
I like that. Aiming higher.
Okay, so now moving on to imagination.
Imagination. Okay.
Hill calls it the workshop of the mind.
That's a good one. The workshop of the mind.
Right, and he distinguishes between two forms of imagination.
2 forms. Okay. What are those?
Synthetic imagination.
Synthetic
Okay.
and creative imagination.
Creative. All right, so what's the difference?
So synthetic imagination
Sure.
is the process of rearranging existing ideas, concepts, or plans.
Like taking what you already know and remixing it.
Yeah, remixing it, combining them in new ways.
Okay.
And Hill says this is the form of imagination we use most often
For what?
for converting desire into tangible wealth.
So taking that burning desire and making it real?
It's about leveraging what you already know to create new solutions.
Practical application of knowledge.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Now, creative imagination
Yeah.
is a little bit different.
How so?
Hill presents it as a more profound faculty.
Okay.
It's a direct channel of communication
With what?
with what he calls infinite intelligence.
Infinite intelligence, again, that source of wisdom and power.
Yeah, it's the source of those sudden hunches,
Like those flashes of insight.
inspirations, new ideas that
Yeah.
seem to come out of nowhere.
I get it.
He uses the example of Thomas Edison.
Edison, who initially relied heavily on synthetic imagination,
Okay.
but then he learned to tap into his creative imagination.
And that's what led to his breakthroughs.
Yeah, his most groundbreaking inventions.
That's fascinating.
And even Abraham Lincoln's development of this faculty,
His creative imagination.
yeah, is linked to the influence of love in his life.
Love. Interesting connection.
Yeah, so Hill emphasizes the need to actively engage your imagination,
Yep.
to create practical plans for accumulating wealth.
Even before you know exactly what you're going to do.
Yeah, even before you have that specific product or service,
So it's about visualizing the outcome.
and trusting that the means will appear.
Interesting.
And he gives this really strong advice
Okay.
to take immediate action
Action-y.
on those inspirations,
Those hunches.
those flashes of plans that come from your creative imagination.
Like, don't ignore those.
He considers them potential messages from infinite intelligence,
Wow. So we should pay attention to those.
and he cautions that failing to act on them promptly can be really detrimental to your success.
So it's about being sensitive to those inner promptings.
Yes, and having the courage to act on them.
I like that, the courage to act.
So think about it.
Okay.
What novel ideas or intuitive hunches have you had that you might have dismissed or failed to pursue?
Maybe we should revisit those.
Maybe now's the time to dust them off.
And engage our imagination.
Yeah, and start constructing those plans.
To turn our desires into reality.
Okay, so next we have the principle of definiteness of decision.
Definiteness of decision. Okay.
Hill highlights the power of making clear, resolute decisions.
No more waffling?
No more waffling, especially when you couple it with a specific time frame for achieving your goals.
So you have a deadline.
You have a deadline, yeah.
Okay.
And he tells this story about a young man named Gonzales.
Gonzales, okay.
For 2 years, he had this vague desire
Okay.
to have $1 million.
$1 million? That's a common desire.
Yeah, but it was just a vague desire, you know.
Like a wish
Yeah, and then one day, he made this firm decision.
to get the $1 million.
He decided he was going to get it within a week.
A week? Wow, that's ambitious.
And he immediately formulated a plan.
Okay.
And within 36 hours of making that definite decision,
Wow, that's fast.
he secured the funding.
He got the $1 million.
That's incredible.
That's amazing.
And this really underscores Hill's point
Okay.
that vagueness and passive hope are just not effective.
They don't get you anywhere.
It's the act of making a clear, decisive commitment.
That sets things in motion.
Yeah, it focuses your subconscious mind and attracts the necessary resources.
So it's not just about wanting it, it's about deciding you're going to have it.
Exactly.
That's powerful.
So think about this.
Okay.
What's a significant decision that you've been putting off?
Procrastinating.
Procrastinating, yeah. That if you have made with conviction and clarity, could potentially change your trajectory.
What's that one decision that could make all the difference?
Okay. And finally, we come to the principle of persistence.
Persistence, yeah, that's a big one.
Gill describes it as the sustained effort that is essential
For what?
for turning your burning desire into its tangible equivalent.
Okay, so it's not enough to just want it and believe in it. You have to keep going.
You have to keep pushing, even when it gets tough.
It's about not giving up.
Yeah. And he says the foundation of persistence lies in the power of your will.
Willpower.
Yeah, your ability to keep going even when you don't feel like it.
Makes sense.
And he uses this interesting analogy.
Okay.
He says that fortunes gravitate towards minds that are prepared to attract them.
Like water flowing towards the ocean.
Exactly, it's natural.
I like that.
And then he shares these really inspiring stories of people who overcame huge obstacles through sheer persistence.
Give me an example.
Like Fannie Hurst.
Fannie Hurst, the writer.
Yeah, she struggled for 4 years to achieve success on Broadway.
4 years. Wow.
And then there's Kate Smith.
Kate Smith, the singer.
Yeah, she sang for years without pay
Really?
before finally becoming a star.
So they never gave up on their dreams.
Never gave up.
That's inspiring.
And Hill connects persistence to overcoming the fear of criticism.
The fear of criticism, yeah, that can hold a lot of people back.
You can paralyze people before they even start.
Or it prevents them from making necessary changes.
Exactly. He actually uses King Edward VIII as an example.
King Edward, okay.
His decision to renounce the throne for love.
That was a huge scandal back then.
It was, but he did it anyway.
Despite the criticism.
Despite knowing that he would be criticized.
That's courageous.
Yeah, it's about acting decisively, even when you know you'll face backlash.
I admire that.
He also briefly mentions the early experiences of Muhammad.
Muhammad, the prophet.
Yeah, who faced a decade of banishment,
Oh, a decade.
poverty, and ridicule
That's intense.
before ultimately becoming a powerful leader.
So it's a long game.
It's a long game, yeah.
Persistence is key.
So think about your own life.
Okay.
Where might you have given up too soon?
Right. What dreams did we abandon prematurely?
What aspirations did we let go of just before breakthrough?
It's hard to know, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
But it's worth reflecting on.
So to wrap up our deep dive into the early principles of Think and Grow Rich,
Okay.
let's recap the core ideas we've covered.
Sounds good.
We talked about the importance of cultivating a burning desire,
That intense longing for something specific
the power of faith and autosuggestion,
to shape our subconscious beliefs,
the importance of acquiring organized knowledge
and developing definite plans.
fueled by imagination,
Yeah, both synthetic and creative.
and then the impact of making clear, decisive decisions.
No more waffling
And of course, the unwavering importance of persistence.
in the face of any challenge.
And, when we think back to that secret,
that Hill keeps hinting at.
it seems like it's not just one single technique, expert speaker.